All right, it says recording. All right. Hey, everybody, thanks and welcome welcome to um, this thing this little workshop where we're going to evaluate some of the prompt packs and see if they do anything useful for GMs. Um, we have a couple of people with us, Todd and Andrew. Thank you for joining us from the community, and um, maybe some other folks will drop in as we go. Sorry, this one I put up on the schedule on short notice because something I needed to do, and then I thought, oh, maybe people from the community would like to help with this. So I dropped it in, and had some free time, so here we are. So, all right, let's look at. So, all right, before we kind of get started, so I had some goals. I'll put these in the notepad here. Okay, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to build prompt packs that were modular, but it gave the GM like the minimum amount of information that they would need to answer player expectations. So, like for instance, you know how you can make a bunch of names in advance and put them on a piece of paper, then like cross them off, as you go. So I thought it'd be cool if you could put a bunch of locations on a piece of paper and cross them off as you go. And each one could have just the minimum amount of information to represent that person, place, or thing, and answer any of the common things that players would want to do. So I have to go through each location and go, okay, what is this place? Okay, we're working on the blacksmith shop. Okay, what do people expect at a blacksmith shop? Well, they're going to expect to buy and sell armor, to have their armor repaired, maybe get some rumors. I don't know, some things like that. But there's going to be some like expectations, and so I try to brainstorm those and jot those down before I make the prompt packs. And so the goal of the prompt pack is to produce a skeletal representation of, let's say, the blacksmith shop, that the GM can then improv on top of. So the ultimate goal here is to reduce cognitive load. So um, or reduce prep time. So it turns out everybody can play after all, but you didn't have something ready. Or last session, the group went in a direction you hadn't anticipated. Well, there's maybe a way we can leverage AI to help with that, and even break through writer's block. I mean, maybe you've just done this a million times, and your brain is temporarily farting for whatever you know whatever thing's going on in your game. So this is a good way, I think, of kind of supplementing that. All right. So what I thought we could do is, if you guys who are here in the workshop also have AI at your place, let's both run the same prompt and compare the outputs and see if what's lacking, or what went well, what went wrong, and then I can make adjustments to the prompt packs.
Sounds good.
All right, Todd, have you used any of the prompt packs? I
I've
think you
used the
mentioned.
Blacksmith. I used that and I was very pleased with that result. I
Okay.
was using that in conjunction with Gemini, but
Uh-huh.
what I want to try is either that or a different prompt pack locally. I've got in my other window over here, Gamma 3 running, which
Okay.
is a smaller uh, LLM that I can run locally. And I want to see if a smaller brain can still come up with a cool solution from those prompts.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Cool. Cool. All right. Let's look at the prompt pack for the inns, because that one kind of is the one that's the that it kind of it's the current gold standard for prompt packs. Now I might knock down some of this text that's at the beginning, but I do want people to kind of know how to use it. So, um, except one little thing I might add is I might actually add a name. But on the other hand, I might. Here's the thing: I wanted to make this modular. So if you're playing the game and the players go, oh, we want to go to the nearest town and have our armor fixed, and you're like, okay, I just need a blacksmith shop. So you pull one out from this prompt pack, or that you've already prepared, and they go to the inn and stuff. But then maybe later, something about that inn made them want to go back there again, and now they want to talk to the blacksmith and stuff. So I was thinking about making like another pack that was blacksmith details, and it would be the blacksmith shop. I guess it would be an add-on, so you'd still use the base pack to, that you've already used to generate the basics of the shop, and then these detail packs would give a name. It would give the blacksmith maybe a little bit of something, a little story about the blacksmith. I don't want to. What I kind of want to do is make it modular. So just give. It's about the blacksmith shop. So although there might be mention of the blacksmith, I don't want to go too detailed for him. If you want to get detailed, we could put out a blacksmith smithy pack or something, personalities, right? And then you can flesh out the NPC with those. But the point is that you only need to flesh out where the players are going. You only just need to be one step ahead of them. And so, like, if they decide to go a direction that you hadn't anticipated, you just need to stall until the bio break or until the end of the session to go and make adjustments. And and another thing I'm trying to do is have some areas within the prompts where the GM can enter context for his own game and let the AI know this game is grimdark, or this game is high fantasy, or this game is um, tech
Cozy.
level tech level 13, yeah, or whatever. And that way the prompts will hopefully put out stuff that's more consistent and more easily matchable. I'm trying to make them as general purpose as possible and as system agnostic as possible. I might in the future make dedicated ones that are like Shadowrun specific or Traveler specific, but right now I'm just going for traveler traveler flavor and D&D flavor. So they'll be like sci-fi kind of space opera and fantasy, like, which will be just like typical D&D, but just uh, reskinned in a plain brown wrapper, if you will. And then down the line, we can tune those down to be more like Greyhawk, or you know what I mean, or Third Imperium,
Or
or whatever,
Starfinder.
or Starfinder, yeah, whatever the tuned down version is. We start with the meta of sci-fi in general, and then we can kind of drill it down from there. Let's see. Okay, so so that's the goals, is to be modular. Um, I don't know where I'm typing because it's not coming up on the screen. Modular, um, detail on demand, and of course useful. Context driven, and I don't. I'm kind of trying to stress the like no AI at the table, because I think that's a game killer. Um, it's kind of like breaking out the rule books, and or kind of making the players play involve the AI in the game, and that you can just, if you want to cut out the GM, just go play AI by yourself, But yeah, the AI doesn't have to be at the table, other than maybe for reference. But yeah, I'm discouraging that. Please don't. Um, if you need to consult the AI, do it during the bio break or before or after the game. just like you would, if you have to, make it adjudication during the game instead of turning to the rule books. Usually I just do a seat of the pants like adjudication, and then afterwards or during the break, I go look it up and I go, oh, you know what? We were wrong, or we were close, or whatever. Let's fix that going forward, or whatever. We'll leave it the way it is now, but next time we do it, we're going to do it this way, and so that everybody learns how to play the game together. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of thinking about like that's how AI might fit in as well. So let's look at the ends. Let's look at prompt number 1.
If you're ad-libbing your notes here, you might want a category called constraints, what you don't want the prompts to do for you.
Good idea. Come on. Okay, so what don't we want?
Lore bombs.
More bombs? I think we want lore when we want it. We don't want it to just drop it, like you say, when we don't want it.
Yeah.
It might be useful to generate lore in between games or something, maybe based off of your GM notes or something. Or here's what we know about the elves in the game so far. Make some lore about them, and then we'll integrate that into the game somehow, or that could generate some adventures or whatever. But personally, I don't want, like you said, I don't want lore bombs. I'll make up the lore. I just want some brain rest while I'm jamming.
Yeah.
So just some like cues to improv on.
Yeah.
But what's another constraint?
Well, that lore bomb thing goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I want the GM to be generating the lore, and when he hands it off to the players, they get invested and they generate, a little bit of lore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the AI playing the game.
Right. Good point.
Okay. So
AI as so up here we want AI as helper, and we don't want AI as author.
right.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If you want something besides author, arbitrator, or I'm not sure what would be a good word in there, but we want the AI to not make decisions that should be in the hands of the GM. Okay, like making the blacksmith automatically hostile. So I'll let you do the writing of the notes. That's just my general vibe.
Let's make it AI as creator with that definition that you just said.
Okay.
Until we come up with something better.
Yeah.
As arbiter, I think it's probably good. Arbiter.
Yeah.
Go
It
on.
needs to be consistent within a time period or genre. It can't sit there and describe the swinging of the electric light bulbs in the medieval blacksmith shop.
Whoops.
Let's see what other things would I.
Okay, so let me take this no drift and move it to the negative zone.
There are times when I want my AI to be terse and loquacious, but I'm not sure how to. I guess detail on demand covers some of that, but especially I found with Gemini is it's a chatty girl. It's like I ask a question and I get 3 pages of response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that comes into uh, that comes into the zone about whatchamacallit, putting limitations on the responses. Like, bring it back as bullets, or bring it back as a summary, or be concise. Especially like if you're having AI create like art prompts, you don't want it to ever be ambiguous. It shouldn't say the wizard is holding a wand or a staff. It should say he's holding a wand or he's holding a staff. You shouldn't leave it up to the AI because it'll make a wand staff, or some weird thing. So yeah, you got to be like super specific. Otherwise, it just fills in the gaps with what the average is, and that's kind of where you start.
Yeah.
After you've manipulated that a few times, now the drift is starting to get baked in. So that's the
Okay.
danger of it.
I will add one little asterisk to that.
Okay.
I sometimes use, especially with image rendering, I use the AI like a random encounter table,
Mm-hmm.
and I deliberately leave it vague so it can give me details so I can get into a feedback loop with it and say, "Oh, I like that. Give me more of this," or
Mm-hmm.
"Give me less of that." So some randomness I encourage, unless, of course, I'm looking for something specific like a pre-existing character.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't say vagueness is bad, but only have vagueness when you're at
About
you're
like
ha
only provide the information. Don't volunteer anything. You know, just give me the
mm,
information that I asked for in a concise manner.
yeah, maybe a prompt like stay focused on, the task. That's part of drift too.
Yeah. We want to. I got limit drift, but
Yeah, I guess I should mention a perspective thing. I come in this as a solo player for 90% of my gaming,
mhm,
so I'm more tolerant of the AI randomizing things because, normally, I would actually grab some dice, look at an oracle table or a spark table, and I would get random things, and my job would be to interpret random prompts and say, "Oh, this is how it applies to that scene."
mhm,
So, depending on the GM's use, is he GMing for himself or is he GMing for the table or part of an existing campaign?
mhm.
You have sliders in there. So, for better or worse, when I look at these prompt packs, I want them sometimes to actually be doing the lore drops and the like, but I want to have control of that.
Sure,
So,
sure. I've added in. I haven't gone back and done it to all of them, but I added in a thing that makes like the boxed text, like from a D&D thing that you would read to the players.
ah,
Basically just a couple of sentences that summarize what you see, not what's underlying.
I was
Um,
just gonna mention that was my next item, player
mhm,
facing versus GM facing
right.
information.
Yeah, you can generate either of those things. So um, I'm looking at some of the messages. Yeah. Sector says the medieval wizard is wearing robes, a pointy hat, and carrying a laser pointer. Yeah, we got to avoid that. So let's look at the in prompt. Let's do the first prompt, just the function snapshot. So this is going to be, I hope, an over a high level view of the in. So I got what kind of place this is. A clean, orderly town inn that prioritizes safety, rules, and quiet over indulgence or spectacle. Who this inn is meant to serve? Law-abiding travelers, merchants, and locals who want a neutral place to eat and sleep without drawing attention. Why the inn exists at all: to provide regulated lodging and meals in a tense environment where unsupervised gatherings are discouraged. When immediate pressure on the guests. Guests are subtly monitored, making private conversations or unusual behavior difficult to keep unnoticed. All right, so is that a little 4-point framework enough to get you going with your inn when they first come in? I mean, on first glance, what's our evaluation of that result, or what did you get a different result on your local LLM, Todd?
Oh, well, let me,
Let's hear yours.
okay, let me do. Uh, Probably you should not wait for me because we do not know how fast this is.
Hmm.
Okay, come on.
I didn't mean to put you under pressure there.
No, it's just the mouse is going silly because I've got too many wires here. Okay, but when I was reading yours, one word just struck me like a lightning rod, and that was neutral. And the idea of an inn being a neutral territory where factions can come together, butt heads, but no blade is drawn.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that automatically says that's the place I want this inn to be. You know, whether its literal name is neutral grounds or something like that.
Right. Yeah. No. That makes sense. It'd be nice to have a place where there could be meetings between factions, like you say, that's safe. People could bring their henchmen with them, but it's neutral there, so no fighting. Maybe the inn has like a pretty beefy bouncer themselves who keeps things going. One thing that's cool is if you run all the uh, if you run all the prompts in order, each one feeds on the output of the previous, and so as we go, it will pick up on these things that we were mentioned before and fill in the blanks on the further down we go with the prompts. So we might see more mention of this being a neutral place or whatever.
Mhm.
This kind of provides context.
Yeah.
Let's look at
Okay.
prompt. Oh,
Well,
you ready? Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
Gemma was a little more terse, but it did come up with 4 points.
Okay, let's hear.
Uh, we have a common house, 2 stories, central hearth, travelers, merchants, local laborers seeking shelter, refreshments, provides basic lodging, sustenance within a settlement. Room availability is limited, potential for overcrowding and minor theft. So I get a much more cozier, tighter place with not nearly as polished as yours.
Mm-hmm.
And that close proximity also leads to pickpocketing. So,
Right. Yeah, and listening in, and not so private.
yeah. So, in some ways, it's almost the opposite of the one that you came up while still being an inn.
Right. Now,
That's good.
now, even if somebody runs the same as the same models that we're running, they're going to get a different result. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's just I'm wondering about the quality of the results, and as GMs or solo players who you're your own GM,
Mhm.
like how useful is this to us? Let me see. Did let's see. Let's see. Sector has a respectable, orderly public house providing food, drink, and beds with emphasis on safety and predictability rather than luxury. Town merchants, itinerant laborers, officials in transit, and travelers who prefer legitimacy over anonymity. To concentrate lodging and meals in a controllable space that supports local commerce and informal oversight in a tense environment. Guests face reduced privacy due to heightened scrutiny of comings and goings, making prolonged or conspicuous stays uncomfortable. All right, those are all good nuggets, I think. But Sector, how do you feel about your results? And what model are you using, if you don't mind? ChatGPT. All right. Cool. That's what I'm using too. All right, so we can see between two chat GPTs some very different results. Let's I'm happy so far. One thing I might add is maybe the location should have a name. Um, People, oh yeah, you need to go down to the Blue Pony or whatever for, you know,
The color animal.
yeah, the color animal and the action animal, mythical being, the swimming mermaid, the laughing mermaid. Um,
Now, you joke about that, but I literally wrote that as a rule for my current campaign that
hmm
all inns are color animal named. So it is.
Maybe we should add that to the pack as part of the first batch of stuff. Um,
Well, if you're doing like
a
a
naming
big,
convention.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I should also, again, another asterisk. The campaign I'm running in is supposed to be modeled after a B tier role playing game that the character ended up in.
Mm,
So tropes like that are built into the world.
right. Yeah. And welcomed.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's do the second prompt. Here's what I got. Who gets a room easily? Travelers with visible means, clean gear, and no active disputes or notoriety. Who's turned away or discouraged? Armed groups with unresolved conflicts. Anyone visibly drunk, injured without escort, or carrying trouble into the common room. All right. What payment actually means. Coin up front plus a demonstrated willingness to follow the house rules and not attract attention. One unspoken rule guests break at their peril. Do not involve the inn in outside disputes. No confrontations, threats, or businesses that bring consequences to the door. All right. I like that. That's useful.
Well, Gavin's still chewing away.
Let's see. Okay, let's see. We got a result from Sector. Travelers who appear legitimate, orderly, and able to pay standard rates without complication are given rooms with minimal friction. Um, Armed groups drawing attention, individuals under suspicion, or guests seeking secrecy or irregular arrangements are discouraged or refused. Payment means timely settlement in recognized local coin and compliance with house expectations. Barter promises or favors are not accepted. Guests must not involve the inn in disputes or illicit activity. Violations result in immediate expulsion without refund. I like that. It's similar to my results in some ways, but also its own cohesive thing. That's cool. Todd, what's yours? Did you get a result yet?
Okay. Let, now that I found where the chat is, let me see if I can pop this in the chat. Ew, that's a solid block of text.
Okay. Locals, established merchants, those with visible coin. All right, that's similar to both of ours. Some people with means, right? Um, who's discouraged? Large groups, visibly armed individuals, anyone exhibiting suspicious behavior. What payment really means? Standard currency accepted, bartering possible but discouraged, and no public displays of weaponry or illicit goods. All right, those are
Yeah.
terse or concise, and it's also usable.
Yeah. Uh,
So
I'm noticing that with Gemma is it's not as wordy as Chat GPT, but that's okay. I'm running on a PC compared to
mhm,
Big Iron.
right. I installed Olama and anything LLM that provides like agents that can read images and stuff like that. And they have a vast like library of models. I haven't even gotten through some of them. Gemma is the default one, but there's all different other kinds that are specialized for different topics and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Uh, I have just enough of a GPU to run Gemma. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expanding and getting fancy.
Right.
And
Yeah. Good idea.
any other AI tool using GMs, they may not even have, excuse me, access to the internet if they're like running, say, from a gaming laptop or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
running in the small sandbox to me is an interesting experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I would like to do it some more. Okay. Here's the next one. This is prompt 3. And one thing I want to do before, well, let me just go ahead and submit it. But let's look at this section here. So this, I've added a place in all of the prompt blocks where you can go in here and change uh, these things to what you want. So let's say the inn is now not respectable, but something else. You can go ahead and say, it is infamous, it is sketchy, it's a dive, um, whatever. And that's what kind of thing. So these are the sliders that you were kind of talking about. I've tried to anticipate some sliders that are proper for each um, prompt. So let's see, who sees or overhears the guests? The staff, the regular patrons, and anyone passing through the common areas. Walls, floors, and doors do not meaningfully block sound. How information leaks out. Casual remarks are repeated, routines are noticed, and details are shared indirectly through staff conversations and local gossip. One reason staying longer increases the risk. Patterns forms. Habit schedules and associations become recognizable and easier for others to piece together. So it looks like, yeah, this is like a rumor mill place. Um, Even though it's secure, the people are nosy. Let's see. Sector got staff, regular patrons, and other guests routinely observe arrivals, departures, and visible behavior in shared spaces. Information leaks through casual conversation, staff reporting irregularities to local authorities. Oh my God, there's snitches, and word of mouth among respectable locals. Longer stays normalize scrutiny, allowing patterns of behavior and association to be noticed and discussed. So they start finding out about who your friends are, who you do business with. They're running to the town sheriff. Uh, that's some good GM side information. Let's see, Todd. Let's see, we got staff, other guests, and occasional eavesdropping locals are the ones who are overhearing your conversations. Um, how information leaks out: conversations overheard by staff, rumors spread through the settlement, belongings briefly visible during room changes. One reason staying longer increases risk. Extended stays increase likelihood of scrutiny from local authorities or interested parties. All right.
That's also very consistent with the smaller, cozier, tightly packed inn.
Mm-hmm.
Is it is going to be a rumor mill in a. I imagine this is my inn is a more rural setting,
Mm-hmm.
and rumor spreading is one of the major forms of entertainment among the people. So this is actually very consistent with that
Mm.
model that it's building for me.
I'm imagining for my inn is maybe in a small village or kind of a largish village. Maybe it sees enough commerce coming through to stay open and provide a neutral space. So there must be factions. So it's got to be bigger than a village. I'm thinking maybe a small town or something. Um, so yeah, yeah, yeah. The locals are gossipy. The housekeeping is nosy, um, and looks like information might be had for the right price. Let's see what number 5 is here, or number 4. This is the rest and recovery limits. I'm going to run these without changing the prompt sliders, but then we'll go back maybe and do another, and we'll change the sliders. So what kind of rest is actually possible? A basic physical rest sufficient to reduce fatigue, but not full mental recovery or complete stress relief. What interrupts or degrades the rest? Noise from the common areas, late arrivals, early departures, and staff moving through the building. One condition that degrades rest overnight? Heightened vigilance in a tense environment keeps sleep shallow and easily disturbed. That could be fun. The neighbors are making a racket. You didn't sleep at all. Let's see. Sector has guests can achieve basic physical rest sufficient to avoid exhaustion, but not deep, uninterrupted recovery. Noise from other guests, routine checks by staff, and the ambient stress of a tense settlement fragment sleep. Any sign that a guest is being watched, questioned, or discussed during the evening degrades the quality of overnight rest. That could be fun. You just hear footsteps like come out and stop outside your door for a few minutes, and then move along. You're not sure, were they listening to my room? What's going on out there? All right. Todd's got short rest, 2 hours, minimal recovery. Long rest, 8 hours, partial recovery. Noise from other guests or stopping the things that degrades rest. Noise from other guests, cramp condition, occasional vermin.
Did I mention mine is more rustic?
Local unrest keeps everyone on edge. Sleep quality reduced by 1d4 hours. Right? That's a cool detail. I like that. The vermin. They kept me up all night. The rats squeaking,
Well,
scratching and scratching at the walls.
this
Didn't you
is
hear
not
them?
this is not the Hilton.
All right, here's prompt 5, active surveillance and attention. Who actively watches or tracks the activity? In staff, regular patrons, and local authority proxies who note arrivals, departures, and associations. What kind of attention guests draw by staying? Neutral but persistent scrutiny focused on behavior, routines, and interactions rather than intent. One-way attention intensifies the longer the party remains. Familiarity replaces anonymity, turning passive observation into active pattern tracking. That might be interesting. Like, oh, I see you didn't order breakfast this morning. Something. Stop watching me. Will you have your usual? I've only been staying here a day. But yesterday you had pancakes. Hmm. What are you guys getting? Let's see. In staff, nearby residents, and local authorities this is from Sector, intermittently observe activity within and around the premises. Guests draw um, passive scrutiny of their movements, companions, and routines simply by being present in a respectable public place. Extended stays cause watchers to notice regular habits and inconsistencies, increasing their frequency and focus of observation. That could be good, like just increasing the party's paranoia that people are watching them, even though it could just be just totally unrelated people. You know what I mean? Let's see. Todd got who's watching and tracking activity here. Local guards, opportunistic individuals, discreet informants, unusual appearance, large sums of money, secretive behavior. That's what gets attention. One-way attention intensifies the longer the party remains. Accumulation of local gossip, increased scrutiny from all observers. All right.
And that's spot on for my cozy vermin infested inn.
Mm-hmm.
Strangers are danger. And the longer a stranger is in a community, the rumors tend to amplify, and eventually they'll get to a point where they're just ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the local guards come in. That's where people trying to take advantage of the disruption of any travelers or strangers that are coming in. So that's pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hello, Alex. Thank you for joining us. We're testing out the various prompt packs and comparing results. If you care to join or just watch, you're welcome to do either. Um, let's see. Has anybody tried changing any of these sliders yet? I'll take that as a no. All right, let's try this. Let's make settlement size. I kind of like town. Local stability. Let's go at war. Party visibility. Hunted.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, can.
Howdy,
Oh,
hey.
good. I'm just trying to get everything set up. So yeah. You said this is like an activity.
Yeah, we're doing a
This might
workshop.
be. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So all right, I'm gonna test this. Let me just put this over here. We're all experienced AI folks here for the most part, but it's super important to have a place to dump your or well, for me, it's super important to have a place where you can formulate your prompts and also where to store the results, because otherwise you're just going to lose them in the vast scroll of your interactions with the AI. So what I tend to do is, as I'm producing usable results, I offload them into a document or into a running. Would you hook that up with more coffee? Thank you. Thank you, Freckles, for coming to join me. Where was I? Yeah. So formulating prompts. So I'm going to, and also just a place to take notes. I'm going to put this over here so I can paste it back in after so let's go and revisit prompt number 1, and we'll see what the results look like. So, Alex, I'm on GPT Pro running 5.2. I don't, I don't know what version Sector's on, but he's running ChatGPT as well. And Todd is running. What LLM are you running?
I put it in chat. I'm currently using Gemma 3.12b.
Is that that's the model? But what's the
Oh, the software?
yeah? It's the software.
LM Studio.
LM Studio. All right, cool.
And it gives a similar experience to a Chat GPT or a Gemini interface. There's, the chat box, and then we have sidebars so you can switch between different LLMs, and if you're a power user, do all kinds of little bits, which as a generic user, I've set aside for now.
It's all right. So I'm gonna change this back to what did I say? War. Let's make it a dive. I don't know, what do you call a irreputable inn? Let's say hunted. All right.
Interesting choice of word there, hunted. Because when I think of visibility, I would think of like exposed or secluded, but hunted.
I think they're being actively pursued.
Yeah.
Their visibility. We'll see. All right, let's see what this says. It's a loud, dirty, poorly maintained inn where anonymity is traded for discomfort and risk. Who the inn is meant to serve: desperate travelers, fugitives, laborers, and anyone needing a place that asks few questions and offers fewer protections. Why the inn exists at all: to extract coin from overflow humanity during wartime when safer lodging is unavailable. One immediate pressure on guests: other patrons watch newcomers closely, assessing threat. Actually, let's start a new chat, because it's going to be taking context from upstream here. So,
well, ChatGPT is smart. tell it to ignore the last output.
Yeah, can't do that.
So what should I be doing?
What you could, if you have GPT, do the same thing and just compare what your outputs are, and then we're trying to figure out as GMs, is this useful?
Yeah.
And if not, what would make it more useful?
And it doesn't have to be ChatGPT. It could be Gemini, OpenAI.
Yeah, or Copilot or whatever
your favorite.
I'm on 5.2 with the paid ChatGPT. So
we're all getting different results because part of it is there's a random seed that goes with every submission. So, all right. Same thing. Cheap, noisy, dive offering minimal comfort, inconsistent food, and little concern for appearance or rules. It's meant to serve transients, laborers, deserters, smugglers, and anyone avoiding notice or lacking better options. Why the inn exists at all? To provide fast coin, throw through beds, drink, and anonymity in a town strained by conflict. When immediate pressure on guests, increased scrutiny, and risk of exposure due to patrons, informants, or rival hunters operating nearby. All right. Let's do the access and terms.
Do I find this information in the classroom?
Yeah. In we're doing the inn.
The tab. Okay, I see. So we're doing prompt 1.
Yeah, that was prompt 1. Mm-hmm.
And are we doing this in is there any instructions, or are we just pasting this like raw into a chat?
You can paste it raw into the chat, but if you scroll to the middle of the prompt, you'll see there's like some things that you can change, like settlement size, stability. I'm putting in last time we did it with the defaults, and it gave us some it gave me like a respectable respectable thing, but that's what it was set for. I'm not sure if Todd changed his settings or if he was just okay. So this time we're going with it with explicit context instead of the default. That's what I'm doing. So you can run it either way. Either run it with the default or get into the area where it says optional settings and put in any. You can leave or change whatever's in there and add additional fields if you like.
Right.
I'll wait for your results before I go on to the next one.
Okay. Yeah, it is generating right now.
Okay.
Okay, it produced an output.
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, I've got a clean, orderly town inn with reliable food, modest comfort, enforced rules, and a visible concern for maintaining respectability under scrutiny. The second bullet point is this, who is this inn meant to serve? Merchants, couriers, minor officials, and cautious travelers who want safety, predictability, and to avoid attention. Why the inn exists at all? To provide controlled lodging and meals, and that keep transient traffic contained, observable, and economically useful to the town. One immediate pressure, limited privacy. Staff, other patrons, or authorities are quietly attentive, making secrecy, conspicuous behavior, prolonged stays risky.
All right. Is that prompt by itself enough to help you as a GM if you just pulled that off of like a index card?
So if
just
it
on
were
the
me,
first, yeah, go on. Mm-hmm.
So for me as a GM, I would probably at least want like an N or an NPC, because if the players are going to use that, I mean, if I'm going to give the information to the players, I've got to at least presume they're going to use it. And if they're going to use it, they're going to have to go in, and then they're going to have to interact with someone,
Right.
So I would need at least like an innkeeper, and then like at least a brief description of that individual to sort of give them some context of paint a visual picture.
Okay.
The information itself is pretty good, but like the prompt says, it is GM facing. So on the fly, it's good for prep, but on the fly, I wouldn't have a good description with this information to give the players when they say, as you enter the inn, it
Right.
is, here's the narrative, and
Sure.
this kindly gentleman with a big long beard greets you and says, "Welcome in, travelers," or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I did have I did include boxed text, like how you might have in a adventure, to read to the players. That's player facing information. Let me all right. Now, something that you missed before you came in is so the prompts are meant to be run in sequence, and they give you like increasing like information about the place. But what I was originally trying to do is piece together like what are the expectations of players when they come to this place? Are they gonna, like, if they go to the blacksmith, they're gonna want to buy and sell weapons and armor and repair armor, and what else? Um, so whatever that basic expectation is, and then like provide information to support each of those things. So, for instance, if it offers repairs, are there limitations on the repairs? How much do the repairs cost compared to market? This way, the GM can just go look up in their own weapons and catalog guide or whatever, equipment guide, and just use prices from there, but adjust them according to what the AI comes up with. Because sometimes it's like, oh, there's an iron shortage, so iron weapons cost double, or whatever. That way, they all vary, and they're not just like cookie cutter things. But I'm also trying to keep the stuff down to as small as possible, because it's not meant to be used at the table. Because then what ends up happening is the players start playing a game with the AI, not the GM. So my goal here is to have as much of this stuff be prep as possible, and then you can print it out on a page, or print out a few on a page, and then just cross them off as you use them. If the players go, oh, let's go back to that place, then you can start detailing the blacksmith and his family or whatever. Or maybe now that they have more interest in it, you can have like blacksmith adventure seeds or something. Those could all be expansions, and then you just basically detail. It's done in a modular fashion, so you just detail it as much as you need to be a step ahead of the players. If they want to go this, somebody's like suddenly interested in the blacksmith, either during the break or after the game, you can detail the blacksmith so he's ready for next time. If they just decide you think they're going to do that and they leave, you haven't like wasted your time coming up with a story about a blacksmith that nobody cared about.
Yeah. I still think, okay, because so let's say I'm doing prep. I'm using this exclusively for prep.
Mm-hmm. Still, we would need a location name, right? I mean, I think that's something that's been left out.
I think it needs a location name, and it needs you almost have to do some sort of basic NPC content and description, because you have to presume if you're going to give the information to the player. Like, let's say I'm building a city and there's 12 inns, and I use this tool to generate the 12 inn information. I don't know which of those the player is going to pick, and so I can't, while I'm prepping, I can spend all the time in the world generating them. But on that day, if the players are like, oh, I want to go to this one,
well, you just pick the next one off the list. They don't know where it came from.
But
I'm talking like random places. If it turns it like we need to go back to the town and repair our armor, well, the nearest town, random armor, blacksmith guy. That's what it's for. But if it turns into something that they suddenly have interest in, then it starts to promote that thing from a like disposable location to a more permanent location, someplace the players are going to go back to, and they're going to want that much more detail. See what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to only generate the amount of detail that we expect to be useful at that time in a disposable way, so that if because a lot of GMs complaint is prep time and lack of time, and they put in all this development time, and then people go that way, or they, we know a GM who produces a lot of stuff that we don't go do.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm trying to help out with that by reducing the amount, either making things disposable until they're not, and then you develop them out, or and really you can if it's a disposable place that the players then take interest in, you can stall until bio break, or until the end of the game, until the end of the session rather, to go generate that thing that they're
Well,
more interested in. And now it has the blacksmith has more than a name, now. And now there's some other details about the blacksmith shop that more about, since you've been hanging out there, going back. You know what I mean? Now you notice he's maybe a loan shark comes in, or love interest. I don't know, whatever kinds of things might be interesting on this next level of interest. But let's go through all the prompts first, and then we'll go back and evaluate, because that's just number one.
okay.
I want to make sure that my prompts for prompt 2. So this is prompt 2, and this is access and terms. So who gets a room? Solitary travelers or small groups who arrive quietly, carry little gear, and avoid attention. Who's turned away? Large, well-armed groups. Anyone asking questions about others. Anyone clearly being sought by authorities or bounty hunters. What payment actually means. Coin paid in advance with no refunds. Plus an expectation of discretion and no trouble. One unspoken rule: guests break at their peril. Do not draw attention. Noise, arguments, or public displays of force bring immediate consequences. All right. So it sounds like even though this place is a dive, they don't take any shit and they don't want any attention.
Another spin on that is it's run by a monk. So no noise, no arguments, no force. Otherwise, you get the slap.
That's a good one. Let's see. Sector's doing a... Go on.
I'm sorry. Where do you see those prompts? For
Which prompts?
Who gets who gets oh, I see. Okay, so it's prompt 2. So I'm pasting
prompt 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you change the sliders, don't forget to paste them back in here, or override them rather, if you're not running the defaults.
Right. I'm running the I'll be running the defaults just
right.
for... Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, all right. It just generated.
Okay. Let's see. I'll read sectors. He's got a city, and it's calm and respectable, and the party has low visibility. This is a clean, well-regulated urban inn offering reliable lodging, meals, and common space with an emphasis on order and routine. Who does it serve? Ordinary travelers, minor officials, merchants, and residents needing short-term accommodations without drawing attention. Why was this made? To provide standardized hospitality that supports urban commerce and concentrates transient populations in a manageable, visible location. Guests are immediately subject to mild sociable visibility where routines and associations are casually noticed and remembered. And Sector says, I can see adding the inn name and what the players see as they walk into the inn as additional information that would be useful. I think so too. I think we need the name of the inn. I think we do need an innkeeper's name and maybe like attitude. And we don't want to get too deep into like the innkeeper stats or whatever. Maybe that could be another pack that's like people, I don't know, citizens or whatever. Well, we can make different kinds of people or whatever.
In most systems, you would just use like a commoner stats.
Yeah, right.
Unless this innkeeper's a level 16 wizard. Sorry.
Right. It turns you into a toad. It's okay. It'll wear off in the morning. He releases you into the swamp for safety. Let's see. All right, what did you guys get?
I can read mine. So who gets a room? Respectable looking travelers with coin, trade credentials, or routine business who intend a short, uncomplicated stay. Who is turned away or discouraged? Armed groups drawing attention, visibly desperate individuals, known troublemakers, or anyone evasive about length of stay or purpose. What payment actually means here? Coin up front, agreement to house rules, and compliance with local expectations. Failure in any one voids the stay. One unspoken rule: guests break at their peril. Do not create problems that force the inn to explain itself to town authorities. Okay.
Yeah, all right. What'd you get, Todd?
Well, I'm all the way down to what are we redoing number 2, or should I be on number
I
5
will.
above it?
Yeah, you
Okay.
get ahead of the group. That's okay.
Yeah, we'll wait till we catch up at the bottom.
Okay. All right then. Let's do number 3. Number 3 is privacy and exposure, and I noticed that my prices are missing from these, so I need to go back and add that as a note.
So you mentioned prices are missing.
Mm-hmm.
Prices can sometimes lead down a rabbit hole that may or may not be desired. Because what if they start inflicting, here is the coinage of the realm kind of thing, or if they again jump out of the current genre era of the game and give you a dollars in a medieval setting.
No, it doesn't do that. What it does is gives you the price adjustment as a percentage. So you
Okay.
just go look up what a sword costs in your game, and now it's 10% more, or whatever,
Okay.
or cheaper, or whatever the circumstance. Sometimes it comes up with reasons things are cheaper.
Yeah, because I can see the AI, if it being helpful, if it knows the coin of the realm, to
Mm-hmm.
actually say, oh, that's 125 zennies.
Right.
But it's a
No,
slippery slope.
it is, because then you have to, for every game that you're playing, you have to load it up with all the rules that govern that, and the rules don't help it. You have to tell it when to look at the rules and when to use them. So it's not super useful to do that. What I found is more effective is, from a player standpoint, are you here to roll dice and play a numbers game, or are you here to like go on an adventure? And to me, I'm here to go on an adventure. The die roll and my stats are secondary to the adventure. They influence what happens. So I have the AI GM still make value judgments. Like a farmer can't go up against a dragon; he'll die. But he can go against a dragon if he brings some friends and has magic armor and stuff like that. But rather than leaving it up to randomness, it's brought down to like common sense, and not a numbers game where you're trying to manipulate numbers in your advantage. So um, if you take the mechanics of the game out, because the mechanics are just there to simulate through dice, what you can do in the world. But if you take that out, you can do whatever you want, and it's just a decision of values of the immediate situation. Yeah, that's another topic, but I'll otherwise, yeah, we'll do a workshop on AI GMs and what the problems with them are, and how to fix the problems. So let's see. Who sees or overhears guests? Other patrons, staff, hangers-on, and anyone loitering near the common areas or shared walls. How information leaks out. Casual observation, overheard conversations, shared drinking spaces, and routine talk exchanged for favors or coin. One reason for staying longer increases risk. Repeated exposure makes faces, habits, and associations recognizable, reducing anonymity over time. All right. That seems useful. What you got here? Sector. Local stability high, respectable, and low visibility. Staff, neighboring guests, cleaning personnel, and passersby in common areas routinely see and overhear movements, schedules, and casual conversations. Information leaks through normal service interactions, incidental remarks among the staff, and informal sharing with nearby businesses or residences. Longer stays establish recognizable patterns, making personal habits and associations easier to notice and recount.
That's very Orwellian. Yeah. But I like things like that because it
I think.
gives this a mood.
Mm-hmm. I think what one of the directives I gave it was, not to let the inn be their base of operations. The kind of like, don't let the players move in and use the inn as their stronghold when there's rules for a stronghold. You know what I mean? Kind of like offloading the responsibility and costs using a game mechanic of the inn. Um, so I tried to make all of these places um, discouraged for multi-use, but if the players push and they want it multi-use, then you can go ahead and develop that next layer of detail. What'd you get, Alex?
So it was actually kind of similar. So the first one is, who sees or overhears guests. It's going to be staff, regular patrons, adjacent room occupants, and anyone passing through common spaces. Walls are thin and routines are visible. Okay. How information leaks out. Casual remarks are repeated, observations are shared as common knowledge, and notable details are passed along as harmless talk. One reason staying longer increases risk. Repetition turns patterns into familiarity, making movements, habits, and associations easier to notice and recount. So it uses some of the same. There's some duplication, I think, from sectors answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are similar to our first round as well. All right, let's try number 4. Oh, great. Now I get to choose which response I want.
Mhm.
Generally go with the more detailed one. Let's go with that one. What kind of rest is actually possible? Fitful sleep that restores minimal stamina but does not fully clear fatigue or stress. What interrupts or degrades that rest? Noise, shared spaces, thin walls, drunken patrons, and irregular staff activity at all hours. One condition that degrades rest overnight: ongoing vigilance due to the risk of being recognized or overheard while staying there. Creepy.
Now the
Sector
question
has. Go on.
is that player vigilance or uh, are the staff doing that? Because to me that
It could be both or either. Uh, it might be that by the time that they've stayed there overnight, they look out the window, they see somebody standing across the street and like looking at the room or whatever, or could just be somebody out there smoking a pipe or whatever, but
for 6 hours.
yeah. He was waiting for someone else who never showed up. You don't know. Yeah. It could be, extra vigilance in this case, for my people, because it's a sketchy dive and like, why are they still here? Or, you know, uh, we're nosy and we want to know everything about everybody. So, um, I know I kind of like those hints of like the footsteps that creak down the hallway and stop outside your door for a few seconds and then continue on, or like, housekeeping, like, didn't you just come in here? You're like, you hear them coming down the hall, housekeeping, and then you fall asleep, and then you hear it again, housekeeping, but it's not, still not to your door.
Mhm.
um, yeah, could be all kinds of reasons for setting up ambiance or stress. Keep the players on their toes. Keep them from using this as a base. Move on, move the story on. I don't know if everybody thinks that's useful, but this is the first like iteration of these things, so we're figuring it out together. Um, let's see. Sector says guests can obtain comfortable but ordinary rest sufficient for basic recovery, not complete physical or mental rest. Routine urban noise, staff activity, and shared wall accommodations periodically interrupt sleep. Any concern about being observed or recognized during the stay subtly degrades overnight rest quality. He says housekeeping opens the door and gets blown away by a windstorm. All right, let's do number 5. Did you do yours, Alex?
No, I got
Okay.
mine. I mean, I did mine, so I
Okay.
can share it.
Let's
I
hear it.
got so the what kind of rest, prompt 1 is going to be output 1 is going to be basic uninterrupted sleep sufficient to remove fatigue but not fully restore physical or mental strain. So it's kind of saying in same words what yours
Mhm.
outputted, which is interesting. The second one is going to be noise from other guests, staff routines at odd hours, and the ambient tension of the town carrying into the building. And for prompt 3 or output 3, being noticed as unusual or memorable, which leads to heightened attention and reduced peace during the stay. That's
Okay. You noticed you're being watched.
yeah.
Or are you? Yeah, but that could be creepy if they're noticing your routines and going, "Oh, I noticed you didn't put your clothes out for laundry today," or like, "I noticed you met with your friends again," or whatever.
Yeah.
"Oh, just curious. Just, you know,
Mm.
Yeah.
mind your
Hi,
own freaking
neighbor.
business." Yeah. "Hi, neighbor. What you doing?"
Well, along those lines, my, that's an exceptional amount of blood.
So, do you know where the treasure is? Okay, let's see what this is. Active surveillance and detention. Who actively watches or tracks your activity. The staff, the regular patrons, outside observers who monitor comings and goings. What kinds of attention guests draw by staying? Routine scrutiny that notes faces, habits, companions, and times of movement. One-way attention intensifies the longer the party stays. Patterns form, making movements predictable, increasing notice by multiple observers. So this is all like soft tension on the players. What'd you guys get?
Um,
Let's see. Let's
mine.
go on.
If you want to read sectors or
I was going to read sectors, and then
all right.
we'll do yours. Sectors says we're on 5, right? In staff, neighboring tenants, and routine city patrols intermittently observe activity in and around the inn. Guests draw low-level, habitual attention focused on presence, schedules, and use of shared spaces. Extended stays lead to familiarity, causing deviations from routine to stand out more clearly. All right. How about you, Alex?
All right, so I've got response 1, in staff maintaining order, regular patrons familiar with routines, and local figures informally attentive to comings and goings. Um, Passive scrutiny focused on behavior, schedules, associates, and anything that breaks the expected pattern of a brief, quiet stay. So let's see what draws attention. And for the last one, familiarity turns into quiet monitoring with movements and habits increasingly noted rather than casually observed.
All right. Todd, did you have something for 5?
I think I shared that earlier.
Okay.
So I'm up to the bonus.
Okay. That's the
So
one that we're going to do next. All right. Let's see. What changes after the stay? The party is noticed, remembered, and discussed as known occupants rather than anonymous passersby. Remember that party that came through here? Yeesh. What makes returning harder? Faces are recognized, prior movements are recalled, and tolerance for repeat presence drops. Why? When or why the inn becomes unavailable? Heightened scrutiny, pressure from authorities or rivals, or the inn's need to deflect risk makes refusal the safer choice. Why the party must move on? Continued presence increases exposure beyond what the inn is willing to absorb. All right. So in this inn, when you get to a certain scrutiny level, they're like, time to move along. I expect you'll be checking out tomorrow. Why, no, I was hoping to stay here all week. I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, let's see. Here's the bonus. After the stay, the party is. This is from Sector. After the stay, the party is no longer anonymous. Faces, habits, and timings are remembered by the staff and adjacent tenants. Returning requires justification or explanation as repeat stays trigger scrutiny inconsistent with a respectable short-term inn. The inn becomes unavailable once guests are categorized as regulars, long-term occupants, or sources of attention. The party must move on because continued presence converts passive observation into persistent familiarity, increasing exposure beyond tolerable levels. All right. There must be something wrong with you if you're using this hotel as your permanent residence, and the people are going to talk about it. Let's see, here's Todd's bonus prompt. Room is resigned immediately upon departure. Oh, it's reassigned, sorry. Reputation spreads. Future welcome less certain. After 3 days, refusal is automatic. Sorry, guests are like fish. And local authorities deem the party undesirable residents.
yeah, and this is consistent with the little rural rat-infested, overcrowded, gossipy inn. After gossip hits ludicrous levels, then the local authorities have to step in for orderliness and stability, and they say,
Mhm,
"Move along." Says, "Your kind are not welcome here anymore."
mhm, mhm,
Because it was established with my prompts that the locals use the inn kind of like as a watering hole.
mhm.
So so
You're
straight
using up our resources here. The visitors ate up all the stew, and there's not enough for the local regulars.
yeah. Well, it it might also simply be a damper on normal conversation and activity in the inn because I'm just reading in between the lines, like,
Mhm,
why, the locals authorities would say, "Hey, so you need to move on." And from a meta perspective, adventurers bring adventure. Monsters gravitate towards them, shady characters.
mhm,
So I can totally see a local constable saying, you are too much attention for this small town. Yeah. So go on. Yeah, so go save the kingdom somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So far, Gemma has been very consistent, if a little terse.
Mm-hmm. And what did you get, Alex, for the last?
Yeah, I'll post it and then read it. So, let's see. So first one, no, I'm getting an error. The message you're trying to post is longer than 280 characters. Weird. Okay. Oh, there we go. I got one. Okay. So the first one, the what makes this change I have to say, the party is no longer anonymous. Their presence, habits, and duration become part of the inn's shared awareness. The second one makes returning harder. Familiarity raises scrutiny. Tolerance drops, and the inn becomes less willing to host known quantities without justification. For the third one, I have once the party outstays expectations, attracts notice, or coincidence or coincides with heightened local tension, rooms quietly stop being offered. And last one is the inn's function is short-term containment of strangers. Remaining or returning converts the party from guests into a liability. Okay, so
Right.
kind of
Now,
explains it. Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm going to go back and copy all of these blocks and put them together on a page and see what that looks like. Okay, now let me make this actually the proper size because I've got the font size turned up. It looks like we got like a page and a half of information, I think, and a lot of it is kind of like repeating information. So, um, just over one page. Okay. So, oh wait, here we go. One page.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. I think I'd like some of the stuff, but I think it missed on some things. Okay, let's things I notice right away is the inn needs a name. The inn. Let's do this. We're all players as well as GMs. Player expectations. Okay, the inn needs a name. The inn needs an innkeeper, right? Even if it's just a name and attitude. What other things? Players are expect to get a room for the night. They expect to pay for the room. Pay or trade, maybe. Have you ever had players try to trade? Like do chores or something if they're out of money?
I've had a few times players, look around and like say like, is there anyone that I mean, and this is just a pretty typical trope of D&D.
Mhm.
You look around and you look for interesting looking NPCs. Like, you go to the tavern, and it's like, okay, there's a female elf with a pseudo dragon familiar on her shoulder.
Mhm.
Or there's a person on the bar that appears to be crying, and depressed in his cups, something like that. Like, and I'm making some notes real quick of things from a player and GM perspective.
There actually can be some risk in making the patrons too noticeable, because at least in some of the games I've ran, the party will just hyper focus on what
The
I
girl with
would
the dragon
consider.
pet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a whole adventure derailed by a bakery, so I'm wondering what would be the safe level of uh, filling out the patrons, and again, that might vary from game to game more than.
Let's brainstorm it, and then we'll go back and strike things that don't work.
So
Or not strike things, but like some of these things, like who's here, that might be something to break out into another pack, like random NPCs, or not to take it away completely, but to fill it with something, that doesn't fall under, like, what type of NPCs are here isn't guided by the type of location it is, because anybody can come and use an inn,
yeah,
right?
I'm looking at it from a player facing perspective and a player behavior perspective. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
ask the question, what are the people like here? Because they know meta knowledge that there might be a quest giver here. They don't know
Mm-hmm.
if there is or not, but they'll ask the question. So it'll be something that you'll want to cover. Now, like, this is something that could be generated very easily, and it could be generic, like I might do like a section for patrons and then describe them as like, farmers, merchants, a mixture. There's a bunch of military guys, town guarder in the back, like, what's the character like? And if you want, I can just read you the things that I wrote down that I
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
would
hold
want
on a
to.
second. Let me add them to this box pair text, or you can copy and paste them, and I'll add them to the document. However you want to transfer them to me is fine. You can do it
Okay,
just
let
by
me.
telling me or what.
So, well, I'll tell it to you because you might want to
Okay.
record it differently because I've kind of
Okay.
done it like, chickens, well, like,
Okay.
shorthand. So, yeah, I agree with you that the inn needs a name. And then a barkeep or like contact NPC, whatever, like whoever's gonna talk to the players, if they decide to use it.
Not owner,
Uh,
not proprietor, the clerk, the
Yeah, it could be anything from like a server, or like a
Yeah, but what do
or
we
it could
call that
just be like
person? The
maybe like a contact, or contact might imply something though with ChatGPT, but they just need like it's going to be the person that they're going to
needs
interact
an.
with if they
I'm gonna
actually
say
go into
needs
the
an.
end.
Yeah, needs an interface character.
hmm
Okay.
So the other thing I wrote down was ambience, and this is what I mean is like what a player, and I'm thinking of this like in a sensory perspective, like what the players see, smell, feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there temperature? Is it warm, cold? Does it have like candlelit? Is there a fire going? Do you smell like lots of food coming out of the kitchen? Things like that can add a lot of texture to a scene.
Okay.
So the other thing I wrote down was attitude. Are the people here friendly? Are they hostile? Do they seem suspicious? Do they seem distracted? Like what's the attitude of it? Does it seem dangerous, safe? Everyone's kind of looking furtively side to side. And then like I told you, like the patrons, like what's the character of the people that are there, like in terms of like how they're dressed, like roles, jobs. I also put down local unique food, local unique drinks, because that's something that like I've seen a lot
Yeah,
of
because
players about.
the inns also double as a tavern. So
Mhm.
okay.
Like there's just like an expectation if they're going to a place where they're going to stay the night, that there's like some kind of food or drink offered, at least drink.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you're talking about like a plot hook section that might be something else, but I don't know where you'd want to put, like if you'd want to nest the plot hooks in its own like separate like prompt thing, or you'd want to nest it inside the individual locations. I mean, probably some of these cards would be good plot hooks, others wouldn't, although I could imagine plot hooks in almost any of them, any like NPC area. A
Mm-hmm.
blacksmith needs you to retrieve something, some iron that
Right,
a
some
kobold
special
stole.
coal or whatever. Right. Yeah.
You know, but uh, that could be optional. So those are the things that I thought of as like the most like, if you're going to go ahead and detail any information about an inn and it's going to be recorded somewhere and you're going to use it, those are the things that are going to be like probably the most important from a player facing perspective. That I know I've had players want to know about or ask about, and also it just helps me as a GM ground the scene a little bit. So like if I have an idea of like the attitude, the ambiance, then it makes it easier for me to improvise what would happen if this is a rogue's den and the party wants to try to like gamble or cheat against someone. That might be a very different type of response than if they try to like say pick the pocket of a of a very fancy and higher end in the nobles, or nobles frequent, those kinds of things. um and let me see something. I'm gonna check
Good.
your prompts. One thing you could do also on your prompts, this is like on your actual prompts, optional contexts.
Mm-hmm.
You could just put down more in those options, and then just maybe like in with like two slashes or something, indicate for the prompt user to choose one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If you wanted to give a little more guidance to it. Don't know if you want to do that or not.
No, well, I originally did that. I trimmed it back and just put in one example, because I didn't want to just like if people just copy and paste the prompt, it it forces them, if there's no default, it forces them to have to go in and make a default. Otherwise, it gets confused by that list of things. If people aren't paying attention, they just copy and paste the thing as is with all the options in it without choosing one. Then that confuses the AI.
Okay.
Let me think.
What if would there be a way to tell the AI to like choose, choose one of these options?
Yeah, like the first on the list or something is
Right. So
always
that
the
like
default.
it defaults to one, and then if the players delete it, they'll just get,
It'll just make it up
yep.
if it's deleted. Maybe
That's a little complicated, but yeah. It might, I mean, because sometimes I think a lot of times with AI, there's there's an information gap on like what to even ask it. And like, you could
mhm,
say, well, a good GM will know to do these things, but for like a novice user or an inexperienced GM or someone that's trying to get the most out of AI, having some of these things pre-filled to sort of
mhm,
like make it even easier. Like, oh, okay, I want this to by default, be a shady in, or I want this to
mhm,
be like a default, And I think the further up on the list you do, that would probably cascade more effects from it potentially.
mhm, mhm.
Um, And then just going through this exercise, I do feel like there's a lot of information here that isn't it's like you said, it's kind of repetitive.
Mhm.
Um, so it's
All
like
right. Yeah, it got focused on the fact that that there are like hidden costs and ins aren't always what they seem, and also not to set up like I said, a base there because it's supposed to be disposable. We stop at an inn in a random place, not the home base inn. The home base inn is the one that's thoroughly detailed. Uh, but the one that they just happened upon, in the woods or at a random village, is the one that you got to pull out of your ass, on short notice. Um,
yeah.
the one
So I
that's
guess
the home base is the one that you can detail as much as you want in advance. Um,
so were these prompts for ass pulling, or were they for
no, they're not for ass. Well, they're not really for ass pulling because they're not meant to be done at the table. They're meant for during prep. So it's supposed to be
okay.
um, a framework to hang your improv on, a guide, a breaker of writer's block,
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
you know, stuff like that, so that to try to reduce cognitive load for the GM, or to get a lot more done in the same amount of time,
Right. I think
without
it
having to. It's easier to set a couple of like parameters around a pre-made prompt than it is to write the prompt out yourself, figure out how to use AI, you know, and then when the prompt comes up, if it's 80% of what you need, you just edit it for the rest of the way, or
yep.
generate another one that hopefully is better, or blend those two together. Take the good things from two different prompt results. Uh,
I think it would be a good idea. I mean, just like this is very big picture on this project or this thing, to go ahead and um well, maybe to give the AI instructions to get it to produce more creative and kind of off the top responses, because if you can paste this prompt like multiple times and you can pick the ones that you actually like, because there
mhm.
isn't a lot of like if it generates like say 25 or 50% of the time a really good combination, then who cares if you generate 10, because this isn't even like generating an AI artwork that takes like some time between you
Right.
know
Well, you still have to Yeah, even though it's text, you still have to be the curator and editor. It's not going to ever.
Right.
You shouldn't ever just take what it spits out, but you could take 90% of what it spits out and fix it the rest of the way. Modify it for your game. Or it's not to take the creativity away. It's just to ease your job as the GM. Um, by giving you options you hadn't thought of, um, or putting trying to anticipate player expectations on the different types of locations and the way they interact with them, and try to anticipate those answers to those questions in advance, and provide that information in a abbreviated, concise form for the GM to just look at, like a stat block of a blacksmith, and be able to just have a blacksmith, because he has a stack of them in his, notebooks or whatever. Or you can just cross them out if they're used and they're not going there anymore, or circle them if they're coming back and they need to be detailed between adventures. Maybe it's a temporary home base, and it needs to be fleshed out more. But you didn't know about that before the game started, until the players decided, for some whatever reason, to get fixated on that place.
I can tell you, just I'm literally right now working on a project. Well, I'm working on a campaign that I'm going to be doing for some I've got like a main D&D campaign, 5e game, and it's an every other week game. And so we're planning on doing like a little side campaign for the off week, and it's going to take place entirely in a city, and that city is going to have like a dungeon under it. So it's going to be almost like if you play the original Diablo, where you just keep going down the dungeon, or like Dungeon of the Mad Mage, if you've ever done like under Hallister and Forgotten Realms. So it's gonna be something like that. But I've got a city that I'm developing for the above ground area, and that city is very big. It's a big urban city, so I'm gonna have like 16 or 17 inns probably throughout the city. And this would be a really good project to use, because I'm like, okay, I'd like to have like a general picture of these inns, and I know how like where each one is, like specifically for each like where it is in the city. So I have a little bit of an idea, because I know how the city's laid out, what that inn should be like. Like I'm not going to put the inn that's like in the shitty part of town, where it's on the other side of the river from where the king is, and where
the aristocrats go or whatever.
Right. So I can already say like, okay, so here's the context for it. And then like that. So I'm trying to think like what kind of
you
information.
Could say like, here's a shitty like inn, and then produce 3 shitty inns, and then decide which one you like the best or whatever.
Right. So I mean, it certainly got application. I'm looking at this list, and I'm imagining like designing an inn from it, and it's like, yeah, I would need to. I mean, all of this information, like some of it's useful, but I'd still have to do a lot of heavy lifting as a GM for it, and it didn't. And in this particular take, nothing like jumped out of me as like, oh, that's a cool like thing that's unique that I hadn't thought about for this inn. Like like it's like I've just got to. So, I mean, I can use this information, but I could also just do the thing that I would normally do, which is just think about like an inn and come up with it, and then do prep time, which is that's a lot of times like what I'll do with ChatGPT is like I won't use ChatGPT to seed the initial idea. I'll seed the initial idea and then ask ChatGPT to come up with details about it. So,
well, what would be the minimum things you would want to see, like in an in template?
I would say a lot of those things that I listed. So name, appearance, like name of the inn, what it looks like what are some things I can read to the players like very quickly, or even if it's not formatted properly for something I read to the players, what give me a list so that I could then describe that to the players. And then a few memorable details like sight, smell, taste. That could be furniture, patrons. Like generally, I tend to like at least like 3 or 4 things that like give players like a quick association with the inn. Like maybe it's this, maybe it's the innkeep, maybe it's the smell, maybe it's the fancy carving of a dragon over the fireplace. You know, things like that that can be that can make it quickly memorable and sort of give players a feel for it. And then like I said, the drinks and food are just things that players almost like lots of players are going to want to do, and it's and it's usually a source of entertainment. And at least with my groups, like without a fail, it's like they're going to ask what's on the menu, and then they're going to order the weirdest thing they can. They're just like it's just like I don't know. I don't know if everyone else has that experience, but my group, they like to do that. And they tend to skew age-wise, they tend to skew a little bit younger than me. They're like in their late 20s, early 30s for the most part. So,
Okay. Organizing these things. Job board or something that goes by itself. Can you read that?
mhm. Yeah.
Under goods and services, I mentioned in chat cleaning services, repair of travel gear, and resupplying of provisions. I could see those as being common things that uh, an inn would provide to travelers, especially those with lots of coin.
Stable.
Oh, yeah, stable. Totally forgot about the horses. And there's your hook for your blacksmith as well. Says, oh, you need to reshoe that horse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and look, your coat of arms is smearing. You need the coat of arms pack. Let's see. All right, we're coming up on our 2-hour mark. I think I may have enough to go do a second wave with the information I have here. I intended it to be modular, but what I'm thinking is maybe maybe each place will be complete, just not have extensive variations, and then we can offer later like more detailed like breakdowns of these different places. But like what we want now is a basic framework of what all the things the inn needs to be usable by the players.
Have you thought about a structure like, okay, the first your first prompt would be like all of these basics, like the bare necessities, and then like you get 5 of those, and then now let's make a prompt for each of those 5 necessities if I want to go into more detail. So you know, you've got the box text and then quirks or unique features. So let's do a section for what are the unique features of this, and then we could say like include
right, like how we did with those.
visual. Like you could develop, and then you could customize the prompt, each of those subsequent prompts, to be more tuned to get good information for those particular facets of it. And I don't know how good it would be. Interesting to see how good ChatGPT is at taking context from that first prompt to influencing the prompt. Like if you say on the first prompt that
it does it recognizes the output previous. So as if you start on like if you're doing it like a funnel, and you have the big broad stuff up here, and then you go down to the next layer, and it can reference what came prior, the output of the previous step, as long as you either feed it in directly or as long as it's in the chat history.
So that would be cool, because like let's say that you get like a cue from the beginning, basic, like what are the patrons like, and it's like, oh, they tend to be, say, shady roguelike figures, gamblers, and degenerates. Then you say, okay, let's go to the NPC or the patron section or whatever, the prompt build out, and say, okay, build out 5 of these individuals, and it says, oh, these are all shady people, so let me take people from this context and generate them.
Right.
That could be really useful, I think. And then the other thing too is like, let's say that you generate 5, you use that base prompt to generate 5 or 6 inns that you can pick the inn that you like the most to then detail out for your scenario, and then that becomes like a hot drop whenever you want to use it. And if you have like 5 or 6 inns that you kind of like and that you then customize a little bit, you have like you have a lot of prep time solved.
Okay. I like the inheritance thing, but I think it can also be a trap. Is there a standard way of telling the AI, forget about the previous in, this is the next in, and kind of like clear its palette so it generates a new unique in?
Yeah, if you did it, yeah, you could do. We can make that part of the very first prompt. Forget about the previous ins.
I think,
Or you could just make
especially
each one on a new chat. Well, it just depends, because on ChatGPT, even if you make a new chat, it still references the chats that are in memory.
Right. Yeah, I think that can lead to 5 ends that are essentially the same thing,
Right.
because it's getting caught up in its own loop.
We could test that. Have it like generate out like a couple maybe and see if they because my thought, well, yeah, it might be good, and on that first prompt it might be really good to get to push ChatGPT to generate a more specific type of in, and then the player can choose, I like where this is going, or I don't like where this is going, and then develop it further, instead of going for like a generic, trying to get it to be like, it's almost like that first prompt is like a pitch to the player, like, here's a concept, do you want to go with it or not? And then if you want to go with it, then you use the subsequent prompts. And I do
and you can do
like,
that, and you can do that as granularly as you want at each level of the prompts. Like, after you've generated the first thing, you're like, okay, this looks like an interesting in, and then you go down to the next layer, and then, which, let's say it's goods and services, and you just keep generating goods and services until you like some, and then you go down to the next thing. Okay, who are the patrons or whatever?
Right. Yep.
And then just keep generating patrons until you are happy with what you get, or get close enough that you're like, oh, this looks like a good group, and I'll just add a ranger, perfect, or whatever. And I think we should keep to archetypes and not do anything specific, because then we have to start getting into programming. What's a ranger in D&D? What's a ranger in Middle Earth?
Right.
It's better just to say a ranger. Everyone knows what a ranger is, and it's what it means in their game context.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything to add, or any experiences that they've had with the other prompt packs, or any questions or comments, or about this or the group so far, or anything that's going on? So now's a good time to.
Well, I could just say, like, I just got started. I mean, I haven't had a lot of time to look into this. I've been like sick and dealing with IRL stuff, so I haven't had a chance to really explore this particular class. But I do want to check it out because, I like AI. I've used it. It's definitely made my D&D life better rather than worse. But it's certainly I feel like there's a lot more I could be doing to getting more out of it in terms of generating useful material. And yeah, like giving like these types of things I think are pretty valuable because they give you they give you a usable like copy and paste format for generating stuff that actually produces something useful
Mm-hmm.
for real players and real real events. My biggest issue with Chat GPT is that it doesn't do it gets you started. Like I can use it to get ideas started. I can use it kind of to get a real like to get a basic idea of like brainstorm of ideas, and I can use it to really hone in on an idea that I've built out a lot of. Like I can get it to refine things
Mm-hmm.
in terms of creatively generating random stuff that I'd like to use. It's a lot less consistent, and that might be
Mm-hmm.
me using it incorrectly, or you know.
That's why I think adding in these configuration sections might
Right.
help with that. Uh, Ideally, you want to use a project and then put in a project document that details your town that the AI
Mhm.
can go back and look at when it needs information. But we're not. I'm not counting on anybody having anything other than the basic um, AI access. So I'm guessing people aren't going to have access to project files or like an LLM notebook or like anything like that. So I'm going to have to make them standalone and modular, and any information that they
Mhm.
know either comes from previous um, prompts in the series, or I mean within this pack, or comes from information the user has plugged in through the like outside information interface layer. Um, and then and then just to be clear in the instructions that you can add additional variables and values, but without saying it like that, so that people understand. um, you
Just a
know.
food for thought thing.
Hmm.
Would it be good to create a world Bible that you as like a course item that
Hmm.
you can feed into AI before you start your sessions,
Hmm.
so the world is consistent?
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The thing is that the AI context can only digest a certain amount of that at a time,
oh,
and
yeah.
it also likes certain formats better than the others. Like ideally, it wants JSON, but um, it can
Mm.
still it can still ingest like Markdown. So I I do most of my stuff like that in Google Docs, and then just export the Markdown, and then bring that into the project files. And so and then just bring in whatever documents you need. You can even ask the AI, are there additional documents you think I need or we could benefit from for this project? Or, is there something you're missing when you help me build the city? And then, I can provide that, or you can have the GPT help you develop that stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
you
This
can,
is
you can,
this is really sounding like another course idea is like
mhm.
building this world Bible. And for
I did
things
have
like
like staying organized with like World Anvil or uh, Google Note, OneNote, and stuff like that. Those are all
Mhm.
like uh, those are planned for the future. I didn't call them
Ah,
like organizing your world Bible, but that could be either something that those courses accomplish, or it could be in a separate thing.
mhm. Yeah.
And
definitely
that's
something.
almost like an go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like that could also be like a not even like an AI course. Like that's just like a good GMing like best
Hmm.
practices kind of thing. Whether you use it or not, like whether you use AI or not, like OneNote is really helpful, and
Hmm.
World Anvil
Yeah,
is
and
really helpful. These tools
they
are good.
put tabs into Google Docs now, so that makes it more like OneNote. Um,
Mhm.
there's yeah, and in fact, we could maybe make a world Bible, and then all the tabs could be like, this tab is for the factions, and this tab is for the cities, and this tab is for the, and then under cities you have a section for each of your cities, and then a little blurb. We can make a template like that that you either fill out through using the AI modules, or you can just do out of your brain. And then you could periodically export that when you want to update the AI on what your world is, and the AI could use that as the um, context when it's helping you. You just put in the project. All the projects can have an instruction, and so you would put in the instructions. Whenever you're building, whenever you're helping me refer to this specific document, about the towns, or whenever we're discussing these topics, get the information from here, and it'll go that way. It'll know where to pull the information
Yeah.
from. Hmm.
I've had it I've had it because like my sci-fi game Synth, the one that I've been world building on,
Hmm.
I transferred all of my world building documents from the Word doc to the
Hmm.
Google Sites like you suggested, and
Hmm.
then I did ask ChatGPT. I gave it the hyperlink, and
Hmm.
it did actually start pulling information from it. It read it, so I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Oh, good. Yeah, awesome.
So
Yeah, man, I found that super useful for my programming documentation, and I'm thinking about making a class for like world building um, uh, with Google Sites as well, because you
yeah,
can make some of the pages public, and then your players can access that stuff or contribute to it even. You could have,
yeah.
whoever's the chronicler in your group have access to that stuff.
It's so good. I mean, it's really good. And the way the pages and the organization of it is, it's been helpful for me. Like I've been able uh, to put the to build out all of like well most of the species, political organizations. Yeah, I've got it like economic
Organized
topics.
as sub pages, and then it
Yep.
automatically makes a table of contents. I mean, it's really nice.
Yeah, I've got it like organized by topics. Like I have like the website organized by topics and then subtopics.
Hmm.
So I can sort of you know, pull everything, and then I still have to go through because there's some article like it's almost like kind of like a Wikipedia thing, but like a little bit more like
Hmm.
hierarchical. Um, but yeah, it's really helpful. The other piece of feedback that I've gotten from all my players on the game is they would like all of my information in my book put online. The book's like 300 some odd pages, all the rules and
Hmm.
all the abilities and stuff. They'd like the quick reference, and I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, that would be nice. Um, but yeah, that would be
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a card you know, for every skill or whatever, or ability, kind of, that you fill out as you go, and has all the information. I mean, people are going to want that eventually if your game is popular, so you'd already have it built out.
right. Like I'm like, maybe I should get a website going and then like start putting the information on the website. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't want to monetize this game like with the traditional publishing route anyways. I want to market online content. My goal would be to hire people to write stories for the game and then charge a subscription for people to access those stories.
Mm-hmm.
But um
That's a good model.
and then just basically provide like the base rules for free because it's a one and done thing. So
Hmm.
I don't really need to constantly be remonetizing that. But selling fresh content as a service, I think would be something sustainable that I don't have to do personally.
Right. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. All right. And anybody else got anything to add before we wrap this up? Yeah, I went over a little, but I'm happy Next time I'll allocate a longer block. I was like, I don't know if I can fill 2 hours, and then it was here. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and thanks for indulging me in this community. And I hope you find it useful and get some value out of it. And yeah, thanks for being active users. And you're all on the leaderboard. I'll tap you all for moderator someday. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and I will try to. I don't know if we'll do this on the regular, but it seems to be working out so far so good. So yeah, thanks again.
Yeah,
glad to be here.
Yeah, nice
All right,
to
guys.
see y'all. And yep.
All right, take care, guys. Until next time, happy traveling.
See you.